Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for your time. And I'm also happy International Human Rights Day. It's not happy day in Azerbaijan, obviously. It's second day back to back that the Secretary is honoring Azerbaijani awardees. Yesterday on Corruption Day and today on Human Rights in absentee. What does it tell you about the state of human rights in Azerbaijan?
Well, thank you, Alex. And I guess we say Happy Human Rights Day. We say we want to honor this day and commemorate it. So sometimes we're very unhappy to talk about some of these issues. And in the case of Azerbaijan, we are frankly very worried about the trend lines when it comes to human rights defenders, anti-corruption activists, journalists, and any really whistleblower or opposition voice in the country. Both yesterday and today, as you mentioned, the Secretary Blinken's awardee from Azerbaijan, which was supposed to be such a great day for Azerbaijan, a real honor to uniquely give attention to these great individuals, a woman yesterday and Mr. Safarov today. We were not able to greet them here in Washington, D.C. We were not able to hand them this award in person because the authorities in Azerbaijan have arrested each one. My understanding is our anti-corruption activist was arrested some time ago and has been unjustly detained. And just last week, as you know, Mr. Rufat was arrested and detained. So we are very worried about the trend, and we really miss these individuals. We wanted to celebrate them. We wanted to tell the world how great their work was. And again, we will do that anyway, but we wish we could have done it with them here.
This is also a year that we don't really have much human rights victory in Azerbaijan. As you know, the number of reporters got jailed doubled down since last year. And the case of Safarov, the government decided to arrest him days before, he was supposed to fly to the US. What kind of message do you think they're conveying here to the United States?
This is a very strong message, and it was heard. It was a message really directed toward us and towards others who are worried about the human rights trend. The message basically is that the authorities are going to continue this trend and do not want the United States and other actors to be supporting these defenders and these members of civil society. So the message was heard loud and clear, and frankly here at the State Department and in the U.S. Congress, where Mr. Safarov was supposed to go this afternoon, it was heard loud and clear. And I would call attention to the fact that there were statements in support of both awardees, but certainly Mr. Safarov, and criticizing his detention from senior members of Congress from both parties.
Critics would say that although the administration promised to prioritize human rights over other interests, in the case of Azerbaijan, that was not necessarily the case, because we did have number of phone calls and meetings that did prioritize security, Nagorno-Karabakh conflict obviously, but not necessarily being out loud when it comes to human rights. Do you subscribe to those critics?
I am really proud of this team. We focused on the human rights situation in Azerbaijan. We have a fantastic ambassador, Mark Libby, who has made this a priority in his time in Baku. Today we are giving an award to a U.S. human rights officer from Baku who finished his service, who really focused on this issue. And certainly around the events on COP, the plight of human rights defenders and journalists, whistleblowers, lawyers, everyone in jail was elevated. So if anything, we have tried to call global attention to the situation in Azerbaijan, and that is the first step in making a difference, is calling international attention to the situation.
Are you running of tools in your toolkit? Are you running of tools in your toolkit when it comes to moving the needle?
Yeah, it's a good question. No, we will continue to double down on our tools. We will continue to use diplomacy, private diplomacy, public diplomacy, like the event today, which will be very public. We will continue to use some of our punitive tools, such as our visa sanction programs and other programs we have used. And most importantly, we'll continue to support the civil society actors. That is our best tool. If we can send the signal that the brave men and women of Azerbaijan, who will not be silenced, who will stand up and try to do what's best for their country, will have a friend in the United States government and support. That is our best tool, and we will continue that. We are not discouraged.
And when it comes to sanctions, are there any Azerbaijani high-level senior officials beyond what we have seen, named a couple of years ago, that are currently under visa restrictions?
I have nothing to report on sanctions. I would just refer you back to previous sanctions.
Is Aliyev acting in impunity?
this is a situation where it's the people of Azerbaijan who are really suffering from Aliyev's decisions and the government's decisions. And again, we support the people of Azerbaijan. We have a long history of relationships and good relationships with people coming back and forth, and students and business and trade, and we want to support democratic, open society in Azerbaijan. We fundamentally believe that our partnership will be stronger and richer, and there will be more prosperity on both sides of the relationship if we get towards a different place on the democratic issues and on democracy and human rights in Azerbaijan.
No, I will move to Georgia if you don't mind, because a lot of things happened in that country since the last sanctions package were announced. I think you just started off in August, and you also got appointed recently. I think the position appointed to be Health Commissioner. That very commission has urged this State Department to put out sanctions and to directly target the man behind everything going on in Georgia, which is unfortunately not, as far as I know, not the case so far. Why?
So let's move back and step back. Again, there have been worrisome signs for many, many months in Georgia in terms of intentions regarding the quality of these elections on October 26th. And we saw really concerning signs, including the promulgation of the Foreign Agents Law, which was really intended to crack down on civil society. So even before Election Day, we were concerned, and we were working with the authorities to signal our concern about the ability of Georgians to vote freely and fairly. And most importantly, we follow again the desires of the Georgian people. The Georgian people have said loud and clear their aspirations are to join the EU, and the United States government supports the desires of the Georgian people. There have been sanctions in the past toward Georgia, and we are still considering further measures.
I know talk about preview the sanctions, but I want to ask about the sanction that has not been announced yet, which is the sanctioning Mr. Ivanishvili. Is there any reason? Is there anything that preventing the United States from taking that?
It is under discussion at the very highest levels, and everyone from the President Biden to Secretary Blinken on down is watching what is happening in Georgia with great alarm.
My final question on this, do you recognize the GD government as a legitimate government in Georgia?
We work with the government of Georgia. This is a system where we work with. We work all around the world with governments and individuals with whom we don't agree and where we have deep concerns on how they got to power. So I'll just say that as we work with the party to go back on the right path toward democracy, to reform some of the electoral institutions and practices, to draw back the foreign agent law, as I mentioned, to make there more space for civil society, as there was in Georgia. There's a rich history of this in Georgia. So this is an aberration. This is an anomaly, what we're seeing. To go back to the aspirations of what the Georgian people wanted. That is our mission right now.